I would say Zilean is indifferent. I just think Zilean is broken. I'm going to put it there right away.
This is Azento from Esports Heaven, and I have here with me Sharkz from FlyQuest, head coach. Now, as far as the draft is concerned, of what just happened? Because I'm confused that they picked Malphite into a Zilean. Can you kind of
That's a present from my friend Enatron from Dignitas. Looks like it's hard. We were happy, We didn't expect to play Zilean today. When we talked about preparation, we're like, guys, there is one single scenario where Zilean might be extremely good, and it happened where we thought that it was the best pick going into the draft. So I don't think we played perfectly. I think Tukui was not confident today.
Okay.
Could play way better, definitely. I think just because we didn't expect to play the champion today, he was, not as vocal as he usually is. But I'm happy. I'm happy we ended up with a W today.
So I've been noticing a trend of basically how Red Side is always leaving their last pick for countertop top.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think just the mid lane matchups are just probably the counters mid lane don't provide that much compared to top lane. I think mid lane depends a lot on jungle matchup, a lot on support matchup, because you can always have your, if bot lane has priority, even if you have winning mid lane matchup, right? But the enemy team has Quarter J and he has winning matchup. You're laning 1 versus 2, you're not, or 1 versus 3 together with Santorin, you're not laning 1 versus 1. And in top lane, just the meta, I would say the matchups are really high skill cap, especially let's say if we're talking about all the Jace lanes. So if you have a player who is really, really confident in his matchup and who is able to pull out, the counter picks, then it looks like, if you, pretty sure if you check every single team, everybody prefers to give top lane the counter pick.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to go into this idea of experimenting in scrims versus practicing fundamentals. You guys pulled out the Zilean today, and Zilean seems like it's being a more frequent pick, even though it was very fringe before, obviously with Bjergsen. But how do you manage both of those different philosophies of using scrim time for experiments, but it might get out of hand and might not be fruitful? How do you balance that?
I would say Zilean is indifferent. I just think Zilean is broken. I'm going to put it there right away. I think the champion is really good. I think he doesn't lose lane as hard in the current meta as he should for how much he provides to the team in mid-late game. I think he is really, really good in the current support meta, where he boosts your support because you have their melee supports with utility CC that you can always just double bump onto the CC. Meanwhile, if you're playing a melee support with engage against Zilean, then you all in, he just ults, or you're melee, he just double bombs you, you're slow, you cannot move, so once you go in, you cannot really go out of the fight. And then there are a lot of junglers who benefit a lot from Zilean, especially the fighting junglers like Zinja, Olaf. Today in our case it was Hecarim. And then there are hypercarry meta as well, right? Where it seems like Zeri, Aphelios, and Jinx are the one who are the S tier AD carries for down this patch. So if they get the Zilean move speed, Zilean utility, ulti, they can do magic as well. So just, I don't think it's just people copying Sorin. I think it just people understand that this pick is just strong. And what I would say about practice, we played it last week as well, right? I think last week in our terrible draft from my side against C9, where I made some mistakes on stage, we wanted to play Zilean in this scenario, and unfortunately, the way how I banned the champions, we ended up playing. I needed to pull a trigger and play Zilean in the poke comp, and that's not something you want to play Zilean, right? Because one thing when you're playing Zilean, especially when you don't have engage, that was our C9 game, is poke becomes really frustrating mid-late game. So to answer your question there, since we practiced Zilean, I really pressed the button and we pulled it off. It wasn't the best case scenario, but I wanted to see how we perform with our team comp still. So that's kind of let's say if we practice something, at least on FlyQuest, it's like that. If we practice something in scrims, ideally I want to see us on stage to see do we know how to play the composition? Do we execute it the same way? Because usually stage games a little bit slower, or guys might be a little bit more not scared. Scared is the wrong word to play, but not as willing to play with no risk or no regrets compared to practice. So it's important, to get this confidence. Okay, we know we feel comfortable with it in practice. Let's see how we feel with it on stage. So today was kind of glad we got the Zilean W after losing the game against C9.
So I want to maybe further get into that because previously in week one and whatnot, we saw supports going top, and there was kind of an investment of time
Yes.
in terms of you have to scrim and you have to practice those kinds of champions. So how do you say no, we shouldn't practice this, or yes, we should practice this, it's gonna get nerfed, or it's not gonna get nerfed? How do you juggle that as a coach?
It depends on your team goals overall. From my perspective, picking up something extraordinary in you, long term it benefits you. How fast do you adapt? How fast you pick up things? How fast you build? How fast you get everybody on the same page? How to play this new strategy? And I think when you figure out this process, you can just carry this process over other strategies, other champs, and you can use the same process, the same ideas. So I think you being creative and you being fast and picking up new things benefits you long term as a team when the meta shifts. So that's the biggest plus for me, right? And then me as a coach, I value creativity a lot. I value adaptation. So I was really happy Colin invested time into it and everybody else was down to play it. We saw that's really OP. Meanwhile, I think last week and this week, both in practice, I could see that it backfired us a little bit where, let's say, in all the S tier, A tier champions in top lane right now, we played them less than other teams, the teams that didn't invest time into my top laners, right? So that's where the biggest negative is, right? Let's say when the meta shifts, it gets nerfed. You have the nerf from investing time into strategies that get nerfed. But it's obvious, right? Are you fine to do the sacrifice? And in our case, as a team, we were willing to say yes.
Mm-hmm. How long do you think it takes to master a champion?
Oh, it depends on champion. I think champions like Azir, Kalista, that were always really OP and competitive when they're OP, and they're never OP in solo queue because they're hard to master. So it's impossible to respond to this question. Master Garen, what about mastering Garen? You probably just need to figure out how much damage you deal. There's not too much mechanics. Meanwhile, it depends.
So I feel like this split, or rather this year, more than any other year that I've watched League of Legends, the draft has had a very big impact, more than any other time that I can think. What are your thoughts on that? Is that true? Is that not true?
I would disagree with it. I think there's still, even if you got out-drafted, I think you have more opportunities, and there's still creativity windows that can let you win the game. I think when the Green Smite was in the game, was when Korean teams were dominating, when you had too much vision prevented you from flipping the waves, right? Because you just always know, let's say, where enemy jungler is, or you just know, okay, they're showing top side, that we can walk up for the mid wave. I think now, even if you outdraft, enemy team have more opportunities to go for a 30% play or 20% play on their side, but they might win this 20-30% play. So I would just say the game is. I would just straight up disagree with the statement that draft matters more than other seasons, if it's a statement.
Yeah. So, FlyQuest, I believe, is now third in the standings, but I feel like no one is giving credit to you guys. No one is saying FlyQuest is, one of the best teams in the league. Do you feel like you guys don't get enough credit?
No, I think I think Jad had a segment about us when we started 5-1, and I think he was totally right. I think the wins that we got early from behind with Smite were not as convincing. I think we had a good game against TSM, the first game. I think we had a terrible Super Week. Mostly it's my fault. And I think just for me, what I consider a good team, it needs to be a consistent team. 5-1 or just one split with new roster. Overall, judging team by its spring split only, especially if it's middle of the pack team, is really hard. Just looking at our score right now, we're 7-4 right now, right? We could be easily 4-7, easily. And then I think some teams got unlucky. I think there are teams that are still going to be pick up their slack. I think 100C is an amazing team, right? The champions last year. I think EG amazing team. I think TL amazing team. Middle of the pack, yeah, middle of the pack teams. There, everybody will be able to battle with us. So no, I think it's. I don't read too much social media. I'm gonna be honest, trying to focus more on the team.
That's good.
It doesn't help me. I don't wanna. I don't like when we get praised too much. Neither I don't like when we get flamed too much. So I'm just trying to keep in the middle. That's why just avoiding it. So yeah, we'll see by the end of summer split how good we are.
All right. Well, I hope you guys continue to kick ass. This has been Azento from Esports Heaven and Sharkz from FlyQuest. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.